It is that part of the week where we chat some betting with the stats pig, Tommy Rockcliffe. We're still searching for that elusive second multi-win, mate. We went close last week. I let the team down. But looking ahead, we've got a big round 20 coming up, some key rivalry games. What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, it should be a good round of footy, actually, shouldn't it? I think Port Adelaide Carlton on Friday night is a good game of footy. Carlton, short turnaround, whether they can back up, a few injury concerns, Q clash, Gold Coast at home, they don't lose, they've got the Lions, can they get the job done? Melbourne Giants is a really interesting one from a betting perspective. I can't believe the Giants have come up at currently Monday afternoon. Time to record, the Giants are outsiders at 202 on Neds market. It's incredible. So, yeah, it should be a good round of footy. And then Sydney Dogs and Crows Hawks. Who would have thought that'd be a blockbuster at 4:40 on a Sunday afternoon?
I know, there's plenty of value there for the punters, and we'll get into some of those surprising markets in just a second. I do want to talk about the Q Clash, though, the second Q Clash of the season. The Lions won the first one back in round 8. It was a bit of a fizzer, low-scoring kind of game. The Suns, as you've already noted, are very, very tough to beat at home. Gold Coast won the hitouts when they last met, but Brisbane scored 30 more points than Gold Coast from intercept possessions. I was at the Lions game yesterday. We're recording this on a Monday, and Hugh McCluggage was huge. Joe Danaher was huge early on. Cam Rayner got a couple as well. They looked very unstoppable up forward, particularly in that fourth quarter. How do you see the Suns combating Brisbane's attack?
Yeah, going back to that first one, the Gold Coast Suns had the Lions bread and butter. They should have won that game. Lions had, I think, 4 injuries by half time. It was the carnage game with all the knees, I think, from memory. So Gold Coast, they've just got to play the way they do at home. As silly as it sounds, they just got to go after them, make sure they win contested footy clearances. We know the Lions, their one wood is those clearances and ability to score off them when they're up and about. Lachie Neale had a bit of a quiet game yesterday, but they've got to make sure that they get that midfield dominance. The Suns, they've got some good players through there. They're just a different team at home. So 245 is good value. I'm leaning towards the Lions. I think they'll get the job done. They're probably the most informed team in the competition at the moment, the Brisbane Lions, over the last sort of 7-8 weeks. But for Gold Coast, they've just got to find a way to get it in their front half, give their tools, King, these guys an opportunity to kick a score, and they might go a long way to them winning the game.
If you were Chris Fagan, how are you sort of attacking Sam Flanders this week? 43 touches for the Suns, monster effort in round 19. Do you think they put a tag on him?
Don't know if they'll put a tag because they've got some more damaging around the inside of the contest. I think you've got to take care of Matty Rao, first hands player, Noah Anderson as well. Whether Tuke Miller plays or not is another thing as well. But I think they've got so many weapons through that midfield. I think they'll back in their midfield versus midfield, unless one of them starts to get off the chain, and then you look at a Jared Berry or a Dunkley potentially to do a matchup. I reckon Dunkley will go to Rao at stoppages to start the contest, and then see how it plays out from there. But I don't think they'll go a tag on Flanders. But again, they've got some good weapons, the Gold Coast Suns now.
Look, we've got to shift our attention now to Perth. We're going to keep the attention, though, on the midfield because the Western Derby, the second one of the season, shapes to be a pretty interesting one from a midfield perspective. West Coast won the first one in surprising fashion back in round 6. But, look, I don't know if we can put too much stock into that game considering Freo was coming off about a fortnight of playing down in Adelaide. As I said, the midfield battle is going to be big. Caleb Sarong was huge last week. Brayshaw, 41 touches. Sarong's firming into the Brownlow market again as well. Who do you see winning the midfield battle in this Derby showdown, mate?
Yeah, I think Fremantle, with their aspirations where they want to get to, they've almost, if they want to keep that top 4 dream alive, which we know if they want to go deep, they've got to do that. I was certainly wrong at the start of the year. I wrote them off, thought they were no chance. So shows how good I was. But I think Fremantle will get the job done, get it done pretty convincingly. West Coast have had that spike once you sack a coach or move on a coach. I think they got a bit of a spike in performance and they were lacklustre on the weekend. Over in Melbourne, obviously getting home gives them an opportunity, but St Kilda, to be smashed by St Kilda by 72 points, they're just hanging on to the end of the year. And I think Fremantle will have their way with them, and I think their midfield will dine out. The guys that you mentioned, Sarong, Brayshaw, etc., I think they'll have really, really big games.
That's a nice little segue into our multi. But before we get to that, we do have three quite surprising betting markets looking ahead to round 20. The first is Essendon has opened as a favourite against St Kilda at Marvel. We've got Melbourne as the favourites, only slightly against GWS at the MCG. And the other one you alluded to at the top of the show, Adelaide slight favourites at home to Hawthorn. Which one of those games surprises you the most?
It has to be the Giants. The way Melbourne played yesterday, I know they expect to get Max Gawn back into the lineup, but how they can come up as $1.80 favourites against the Giants, who seem to be back to the better footy. They're starting to string a few wins together. They're alive in that top 8. Melbourne are sort of just hanging on. I think that's the one that surprises me the most. I think you can understand why Essendon go in slight favourites in that game. St Kilda, like, again, they beat West Coast, but we don't know where West Coast are at. They're sort of just hanging on, as I just said. So you can understand that. And then the Adelaide Crows, they've played some pretty good footy in the second half of the year, and they are a better team at home. But again, Hawthorn are on this hot streak as well. Your Hawks, their September dream's still alive. So I can sort of understand the other two to a degree, but that's the Melbourne Giants market I just can't understand. And I'll probably sit here next week and look like a fool for saying that, but their midfield was touched up, and I know they had no recognisable ruckman, but to go, I think that's the lowest ever recorded clearances at half-time. Like, your ability just to fight and compete at ground level was just non-existent from their midfielders. So that's normally their strength, and no doubt they would have got a bit of a revving, but they played yesterday, 6-day break, coming back from Perth against a Giants team that will be well rested and ready to go. I'm just all in on the Giants this week.
Good time to be a fan of Hawthorn and the Giants. Not a good time to be a fan of this show's multi, because we're still searching for a second win. I let us down last week. I took the Bombers minus 10.5 against the Adelaide Crows. The less said about that game, the better. I think the Bombers lost that game rather than the Crows actually winning it. But anyway, Dill came good. He took the Giants 1-39 against the Suns. And you had an absolute fill-up. Charlie Curnow, 4+ goals versus North Melbourne. Yeah,
we'll take that, but unfortunately it was for no good reason in the end. But 4+ is always good value.
Yeah, sorry, boys. Look, we're going to go back to 4 legs this week, just you and me, Rocky. I'm taking the Brisbane Lions minus 10.5 to cover against the Gold Coast Suns in the Q Clash. And I also like Fremantle to cover in the Derby minus 36.5. You're sticking with the player markets?
Yeah, player markets. I'm going to go the same game. So we're going to have a couple of same game multis. I'm going to go Charlie Cameron 3+. I think he might have a bit of an afternoon out on the Gold Coast. So I'm going to go him 3+. And also in the Derby over there, I'm going to go Sarong 35+. I think he gets up for these games and normally dominates them. So add a bit of value to the multi, I think. And I think we might get the chocolates this week.
Oh, fingers crossed. Hard to argue with that logic. Just to recap, we've got the Lions to cover against the Suns, Charlie Cameron to kick 3+ goals in that same game, Freo to cover in the Derby against West Coast, and Caleb Sarong 35+ disposals. $25.86 for that one. Where can the punters find it, Rocky?
In the, I don't know, Neds app and somewhere else, I think, right?
Puts you on the spot there, mate. Good to see you've been paying attention for the last 20 weeks.
I normally tune out when you go on this spiel.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Good chat as always, mate. We'll do it next week.
Good on you, mate.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website